help and assist because we have some people right in our midst who you know are involved in nefarious activities. And too many of you are quiet. Some of you may even be getting proceeds from such activities. But we have to make the necessary changes that are essential to move the country forward. We have to work hard because there are many issues that affect us, and it seems like the number of problems keep growing. Instead of us finding solutions, we're having more and more problems, more and more challenges, more and more difficulties, and a lot is going to be expected from those who are leaders, both in the private sector and the public sector. Basically, we have four areas. You have the government, you have the parliament, you have the judiciary, and of course, the fourth estate would be the media. And I happen to be a part of the media. And I think we need to do much more to inform the public on accurate, precise situations that occur in the country, which simply means we have to find persons who can give us the information that is essential so that you can have and make sound decisions and good judgments. That has not been forthcoming in too many instances. You've had some people who just helter-skelter here and there, but there must be clarity. And what this host tries to do is to make things clear, crystal clear, so that you who are members of the audience can get the information, digest the information, work with it, apply it, and then we can see better results. Today we have Civil Society Bahamas, a representative here, the Vice President of Civil Society Bahamas, Miss Marilyn Zonical. And she's going to give us an overview of Civil Society Bahamas. It's a very important organization that's in our country, and perhaps some of you may not fully understand its role. She's going to give us an overview of Civil Society Bahamas. Miss Marilyn Zonical, welcome to Express Yourself on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Professor Thompson. It's an honor. And I also thank your co-host, Mr. Hyler.
Yes.
In terms of an overview of Civil Society Bahamas, would you permit me to sort of preface my remarks with a couple of things that I think our Bahamian people can resonate with?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And that is, I think the best way that I can give you an overview and help the Bahamian citizenry to appreciate what Civil Society Bahamas is to say that Civil Society Bahamas represents hope. And hope is so critical because, as you know, I was in my devotions this morning I'm in the book of Titus. And in the first chapter of the book of Titus, Paul says to Titus, I'm a messenger of hope to let my own people, the Jews and the Gentiles, know that there is life present and eternal in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And then also hope, our Savior, our Creator himself said, I have come that you may have life abundantly.
Yes, ma'am.
And in one translation, I think it's the Amplified translation, it says, to the full and overflowing. And the reason why I'm sort of prefacing it like this is because civil society, the genesis of it really was you started your opening remarks, Professor Thompson, by addressing some of the challenges in our country.
Yes.
And as, again, the Word of God says, there's nothing new under the sun. These challenges have been plaguing humanity for millennia. And if we want to know the source of it, we can go back to the biblical account of the Garden of Eden. But the point I want to make is that the civil society, it's Civil Society Bahamas, meaning it's an NGO. That's what is called a civil society organization. And there are terms which are generally interchangeable. They're not precisely the same. And these terms are civil society organization, non-governmental organization, and non-profit organization. And these terms are often interchangeable, but as I said, there are some nuances, there are some differences. But what is it? What, therefore, you may ask, is a civil society organization? And as I started to say, there's nothing new under the sun, because this concept, this initiative of civil society itself, or civil society organization, started from the Greek, from way back in the Greek period, where you had a structure, a political structure of monarchs and nobles and elites, and they were delegated the same responsibilities for the betterment of their peoples at that time in history that our governments today are given. But the priests, the priests were once basically political leaders as well, even though they say they were the religious part of the polity or of the society. So you had all the elites, meaning the royalty, the religious leaders, the nobles, and the masses of the people felt that they were not meeting their obligations, and so they decided to help themselves. And the vehicle became what is known as the civil society sector, which was basically a pushback against those who were in power. And I would go so far as to say it was an expression of the dignity of the human person, that even though it was clear that there were stratifications at that time, as it is today, but in many instances more subtle, yet you were still talking about human beings, whether they were a slave or whether they were a king or queen or someone of noble birth. So this issue of civil society, I say again, expresses the hope, the dignity, the worth, the ability of the human person, that no matter how a society or forces may try to put them down, because they have inherent value, because all men were created equal.
Yes.
Because they have inherent value, they express that value. They may not be able to do it through the political party, or some say they won't because they feel the political party is compromised, or they may not be able to do it through philanthropy because they weren't born with a silver or gold spoon in their mouth, or they don't have the connections, etc. But nonetheless, they can still make a difference. And Civil Society Bahamas, in its Memorandum of Understanding and its Articles of Association, have essentially crystallized that concept, that ethos, into its constituent documents, because the Memorandum of Association, its Article 3 says that Civil Society Bahamas exists for the betterment of the Bahamian people, spiritually, socially, economically, in every area. Thank you.
Well, that's very interesting, because you said about hope. And today, Ms. Arnicle, a lot of people have lost hope. They don't see anywhere for them as far as the improvement of their lives are concerned. In other words, the very persons who they trusted, relied upon, depended upon to assist them, to govern them, to make laws for them, to do what they would expect to be right on their behalf. In other words, they expect these people to act responsibly on their behalf. A lot of people have been very disappointed. When we first came to majority rule, there was a lot of dancing in the streets. A lot of people were happy. They were really elated. I remember that very well when it happened. The thing is that from that time up to now, we've had some good points, and I want to emphasize this particular point that I've said on my shows all the time. In spite of the problems that we've had from majority rule right on up to now, there has been this consistent peaceful transfer of authority from one administration to the next without shedding one drop of blood. We may be the only nation, or probably among a few other nations, if there are any others, that have successfully done that for about 50-something years plus. And that had nothing to do with the political parties. It had to do with the spirit of the Bahamian people. The people of this country never wanted a nation without God. Now, there are those who've been tugging at us in different ways, with different philosophies, different ideologies from other entities. And when we look at our Constitution, it says the God of the Holy Bible, the Christian values, and the rule of law. Those two go together. And so the Bahamian people have, even when the slave chains were taken off us, we went right in the little church and thank God for giving us that victory. In other words, we've always had that kind of spirit, not where people are trying to push us, break up the place, tear it apart, rip it apart. Then you still got to go and fix it. Can we have change peacefully? Yes, we can. We have been demonstrating that for more than half a century. And I pray that the Bahamian people will keep it and not allow others to push you in a direction we don't want to go. It is possible, when you look at our Constitution, to bring change, organize ourselves, and bring about the kind of change that we need in our country, because there are many things that are happening right now that are not necessarily beneficial to the masses in this country. And as you talked back then, they had the nobles and the royalty and all those kinds of people. They had no democracy as we have it to the extent it is today. But you had the ruling class, you had the nobles, and all those other people. But when you look at it today, we have a constitution, and the problem in this country is the overwhelming majority of the people are not familiar with the articles in the Constitution. It tells us how we ought to govern ourselves, what role we play as citizens to make that a harsh reality. Go ahead. But Ali, you want to get in on that?
Well, just continuing from what Ms. Donegal is saying,
Yes.
it's interesting that naturally we had to have a body of persons that would
Yes.
come together,
Yes.
even though we always had leaders per se.
Yes.
There had to come about another group of individuals to really capture the hopes and aspirations of the people,
Yes.
and to make sure that those ideas and aspirations were brought forward. You could say that maybe it should not have had to come to that. If you have leaders and if you're looking out for everybody's best interests, then let the leaders lead.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Now we're in a situation where there has to be more than one group of persons, sort of checks and balances, reminders. Our Constitution allows, our Parliament allows for petitions
Yes.
to come forward. Even today, Parliament, the Speaker of the House, every week, or at least one Wednesday out of the month, there's a call for petitions every month.
Yes.
In our Parliament. What would the people petition of the government?
Yes.
So I just wanted to touch on that because from my understanding so far, civil society approaches government, has the air of the government.
Yes.
And I want to hear more of that from Ms. Donegal, how civil society approaches the government on behalf of the people.
Thank you, Mr. Hyler. Before I answer that, I'd like to comment on something really interesting that you said, that every month there should be the acknowledgement of a petition from the people. To be honest, I wasn't aware of that. That is amazing. And let me tell you why it's amazing. Because based on what Professor Thompson said just now, we as human beings very often abdicate our personal
Responsibilities.
responsibilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
At every level.
Wow.
For example, they say that you can't legislate morality. You can't, because it's a personal choice.
Choice. Yes.
It's a personal decision.
Yes.
And why I'm emphasizing that we have to discipline and regulate ourselves is that we have been given the tools to use your term again, checks and balances, when the ruling class
Mhm.
does not measure up.
Mm.
That's
And
correct.
those tools, as both of you have said, are in the Constitution, but they're even at higher levels.
Mm.
It's actually in the very Charter of the United Nations
Yes,
that
Yeah.
people are afraid of world government. But how does the charter start? It doesn't start, we, the governments of the world. It says, we, the
We the
peoples
people.
of
People,
the
yeah.
world,
Yeah.
determined to save succeeding generations from the
Exactly.
scourge of war, which has
Mhm.
twice
Yes, ma'am.
affected the humankind.
That's correct.
So that's one point I want to say, is that we have the tools, we have the means within ourselves, because all of us are created in God's image.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
God, we were meant to rule,
Mhm.
because God wanted a family. He's a king. He's the King of Kings. So
Yes, ma'am.
he wants us to rule, not just this tiny planet that's not even a dot in the universe,
That's right.
but to rule the universe. And
Yes,
there's one
ma'am.
translation which says, he is the God of the eternities of the eternities.
Yes,
So he wants us to participate in that.
In that.
But
Yeah.
let me again come to this petition in the House of Assembly. When I interacted with you and I asked, sort of how the show would go, and you said that you wanted me to talk about a recent, and I'm going to come back to how we interact with government. I haven't forgotten how we interact with the wider region.
Mm.
We interact with the wider region, civil society Bahamas, that is,
Okay.
because we're a member of the regional body that deals with civil society organizations throughout the Caribbean. And it's called the Caribbean Policy Development Center,
Okay.
CPDC. And if you want to inform yourselves more, the URL, the website is cpdcngo.org. But the other interaction with the region for civil society Bahamas is through CPDC, is the CARICOM itself, the Caribbean Community, which is the intergovernmental body for the region. And that body, in 1992, 32 years ago, the leaders were conscious, again, what Professor Thompson referenced again about the challenges, the economic problems, the social problems, the political problems, etc., etc. And they were aware that the peoples of the Caribbean were feeling that their leaders were not really representing them, and
That's
therefore
interesting. Okay.
dealing with their problems.
Mhm.
And so there were some visionary leaders at the time. I think it was at the instance of the then leader of Trinidad and Tobago, who said, we have to respond, because after all, we are the representatives of the people. And they responded by establishing a commission that was headed by the recently demised Sir Sridhar Ramphal, and the then Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir
Yes.
Alistair McIntyre. And they commissioned a study. They actually went the length and breadth of the Caribbean, including the Bahamas, as well as into the diaspora, because the Caribbean people are all over,
Right.
whether it be in United States, Canada, or even in Europe.
Mhm.
And they did an in-depth, comprehensive, they actually spoke to the people and said, okay, what is it you want? And the people told them basically, we want you to come up with a system which takes us seriously.
Yes.
And do you know the treaty that establishes the Caribbean Community CARICOM? It's called the Treaty of Chaguaramas. Chaguaramas is a part of Trinidad and Tobago. They revised
Okay.
based on this report
Mhm.
of this commission, and the report was called A Time for Action.
Okay.
They revised the Treaty of Chaguaramas so that the people before CARICOM's structure was based on what they call standing committees that in different areas, economic, social, legal, etc. And then the standing committees would report to the Community Council of Ministers, and then the Council of Ministers would report to the conference, which was the heads of government.
Yeah.
But they revised it so that they grouped these standing committees more into interrelated areas. For example, I heard recently, actually was on a webinar, I heard recently someone say that when you're dealing with climate change, you just can't look at the environmental aspect. You have to look at the social impact. You have to look at the economic impact. So they're all interrelated. So they established councils that clustered economic issues, social issues, legal issues, etc. But the significant thing that they, and I'm coming back to petitions to the House of Assembly, the significant thing that they did with this revision of their structure was that no council should give advice to the to the conference without consulting the people at the grassroots
Oh, that's huge
level.
right there.
Yes.
That's big.
That's
And
good.
Yes.
and that has been ignored.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
By and large. They only
Wow.
consult this civil society sector, which is the spearhead, I would say, of
Okay.
the masses of the people.
But we could repeat that right there, though. We could repeat that. That's very significant.
That
All of it is significant.
Yes.
But you actually just said that civil society is basically the spearhead of the entire society of the Bahamas.
Right, but I was more
Yeah.
saying of the masses of the people that are
people.
not a part of the ruling class.
Understood.
That because
That's
civil
correct.
society
Yes.
is the one that has organized themselves
Yes,
rather than
ma'am.
just having sporadic protests or what
Okay.
have you.
Okay.
Organize themselves in terms of dealing with social issues,
Okay.
whether it be a soup kitchen, whether it be a shelter, whether it be education
Okay.
for at-risk youth,
Yes, ma'am.
etc.
Okay.
So, but I want to come back still to this petition of the House in the House of Assembly,
Yes.
because the governments are legally mandated to consult the masses of the people, the grassroots.
That's
Okay.
right.
And you are saying, Mr. Hyler, that we already have a mechanism for that to take place.
That's correct.
You know,
Essentially, yes.
and it's not being used,
Yes.
or it's not being used to the
Full
degree
potential.
precisely to its full potential.
Yes.
So coming to your specific question
Mhm.
about how does civil society Bahamas interact with the government, I would say, again, let me give you some context. The United Nations even has fallen down with respect to we the peoples, because all the discussions that you hear, the challenges in Ukraine, the challenges in the Middle East, the challenges in Africa,
Yes, ma'am.
who is dealing with it? Not the people, it's the
Okay.
governments.
That's
Yes. Yes.
Okay. They are not consulting the people.
Wow.
Okay. However, they say we are still more or less being true to our charter because they have something called consultative status with the United Nations,
Okay.
where civil society organizations all over the world
Mm.
have, in other words, they give them an opportunity once a year or maybe more. I don't recall all the details now,
Mhm.
Yes,
but they can meet in New York and they can come up with a document and put it to the heads of state
Okay.
and government of the
Yes.
United Nations. But it's just sort of going through the motions,
motions.
Yes.
and say we've listened
Right.
to you, we've
Listen
heard
to
you.
you.
And then
Okay.
in public service parlance, you PA it.
Okay.
Okay, generally
Yes.
speaking.
Yes.
Okay,
Wow.
Yes,
so in terms of civil society Bahamas interacting, say, with our government, the Bahamas government, because of what is happening at the multilateral level, they are now, again, the sector has been pushing back. In other words, the people are saying, we've had enough of it. You're not delivering what you say. All we have is empty promises. You're
Wow.
not delivering.
Okay.
So they're pushing back.
Yes.
And as a result, the UN now has acknowledged that the sector, the civil society sector, they now say it's the third pillar of governance.
very serious.
So again, in
Okay.
theory,
Okay.
they're recognizing the significance of it. But in
Okay.
practice, there's still a lot to be done. But
Yes.
in practice, what they're now saying is that when the governments say we're going to deal with an issue, whether it be immigration or women's issues or health, whatever,
Mhm.
if we come up with a declaration or a draft convention or a treaty, we will not look at that document in the United Nations until you have consulted with
Consulted.
civil society.
That is very powerful.
So it's
Yes.
powerful,
Yeah.
but in a sense, when you look at the impact, it's basically ticking a box.
A box. Okay.
To say that you've done something that is
Yes.
required.
Okay.
Again, it's how we bring substance, the sector that is, bring
Yes.
substance to it. So how does civil society Bahamas interact with the government? We have been recognized, and I think it's a result of the caliber of individuals that not only established civil society Bahamas, but
Okay.
have been a part of civil society Bahamas,
Okay.
that the government has acknowledged that this particular NGO has something to bring to the table. And
Okay.
so whenever the multilateral organizations or regional bodies want input, civil society Bahamas is one of the key, if not the first entity or
Okay.
NGO that they
Okay.
consult with.
Okay.
In addition, when the government has particular initiatives, they call on the sector, not just the sector, but especially civil society Bahamas. That is true. They call on the sector because there are other NGOs within the sector that have a contribution to make. For example, during COVID, the Ministry of Health and Wellness wanted to have a community engagement project, and so the sector, including civil society Bahamas, met by Zoom with the ministry representatives of that part of the Ministry of Health and Wellness to come up with ads and videos and things to encourage Bahamians to do what was required in terms of sanitation, etc.
Okay.
For our health to be safeguarded. So then also too, I'll conclude at this point with this. In the context of when you asked me about the structure, I felt it important to sort of give context before going into details. But let me, in terms of answering still this second question about government interaction, to go back to the structure. The structure of civil society Bahamas is that we are governed by a board of directors. And that board of directors is governed by bylaws and also by the articles of the memorandum of association and articles of association that I referenced earlier. And we do our work through standing committees. And right now, I'll name off the current standing committees that we have. We have the Governance and National Affairs Standing Committee, and that committee basically is supposed to review on behalf of the board and the organization all national issues, all key national issues. And in its terms of reference, for example, it's supposed to monitor what's going on in Parliament. Then you have the Finance Standing Committee, and that is self-explanatory.
Yes.
And I would say parenthetically here that because they're CSOs and they're not part of the ruling class, resources can be a challenge.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That's correct.
And even at the regional meeting that I attended on behalf of Civil Society Bahamas 2 weeks ago in Barbados at the regional body CPDC, Caribbean Policy Development Center, this issue of finance was a challenge for them as well.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
they deal with it by searching out grants and donations from organizations like the open source funding, which
Yes.
is George Soros's philanthropy foundation.
Yes, ma'am.
Then also through, they do a lot of work from funding from the European Union. But one of the representatives of the CSOs there basically said, enough of this. We have to become self-sufficient,
Okay.
and he indicated in his intervention that he had done a lot of work with civil society organizations in Africa, and he said they had come up with templates for housing that could be established anywhere in our region.
Okay.
And he was saying that the organization CPDC should get into sort of more commercial activities. And the leadership of CPDC said, Representative, we hear you, but we have tried this avenue before in terms of making the organization self-sufficient and self-financing. But what the hurdle we have come up with is that the system, the ruling class, has blocked us.
Wow.
The
Okay.
commercial banks won't give
Wow.
us the
Wow.
kinds of loans that we need to get
Yes.
this off the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I have made a similar appeal to civil society Bahamas that we need to think about becoming self-sufficient.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not saying do away with the donations, because again, one of the criticisms of the sector is that, yes, you say you care about social issues and whatnot, but you're also allowing yourselves to be used by nefarious forces.
Interesting.
Okay.
And this is where the FATF, the OECS, the blacklisting,
Right,
where
right.
in fact, that's how come the Nonprofit Act came into being, because the rulers, the ruling class, governmental ruling class, they were saying, look, okay, governments, you may now be towing the line because we have blacklisted you or graylisted you.
Yes.
But you have organizations that are loopholes. So we want you to to deal with them. You need to come up with a break.
Yes.
Okay.
Coming up to a break
Oh.
now.
All right.
But I'll answer the
No,
question.
we'll come back to
Yes.
that. Let me just squeeze in there when you mentioned the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force. It's suggesting that under pressure, governments, because outside entities put the pressure on them, then they'll take a certain course of action.
Okay. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We're going to go to break. Our special guest, Arlen Zonical from Civil Society Bahamas. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Fall is here, and so are the incredible advertising deals at Global 99.5 FM. Whether you're launching a new product, promoting holiday sales, or just want to get your brand out there, we've got you covered with unbeatable rates this season. Reach thousands of potential customers and boost your business before the holidays hit. Call 326-0371 or just email sales@globalradio995fm.com to learn more about our fall advertising promotions. Global 99.5 FM, reaching customers wherever they are for your success.
The Central Bank of the Bahamas invites students from grade 4 up to a bachelor's degree to compete in the Get Money Smart Bahamas video essay competition. Students must produce a 3 to 5 minute video sharing their views on the topic. The financial sector is unprepared for the potential impact of climate change on the Bahamas. Entry deadline is November 1st, 2024. For contest rules and submission guideline, visit Get Money Smart Bahamas on Facebook. Go to www.centralbankbahamas.com or send an email to literacy@centralbankbahamas.com.
Are you feeling the chaos of everyday life? Behold the solution. It's time to book an appointment for your precious peace of mind. October 21st through 25th is Spa Week at Windermere Day Spa. You may need a stress relief massage, just $60. A revitalizer facial, $60. Body polish, just $60. How about a Swedish massage at just $88? Or you might just need that take me away moment with a deep tissue massage, just $95. Treat yourself to Spa Week at Windermere Day Spa, October 21st through 25th. 327-6135 or 6 Cades Village, or 393-0033 or 393-8788 Harbor Bay. Call now. You deserve
Great news! Ron's Electric Motors' new location on Cowpen Road, right next to Island Luck, is open Saturdays and Sundays. So for those needing repairs on electric motors, generators, welding machines, water pumps, battery chargers, electric lifts, transformers, and power tools, Ron's Cowpen Road location can have you up and running on weekends. Don't forget, you can still visit Ron's Electric Motors on Wolf Road and Claridge Road, and now Ron's new location on Cowpen Road. Dial 356-0249 or 323-5267.
Great vehicle performance begins with an exceptional oil. Choosing the right motor oil for your Honda may seem confusing, so here's one simple rule to follow. Look for the oil with the Honda name. Using Honda Genuine Ultimate Full Synthetic Motor Oil in your Honda will enhance your car's performance because it is formulated and tested to meet exacting Honda specifications. Available now at Nassau Motor Company on Shirley Street.
If you've got termites and need to get rid of them fast, trust Rent-A-Kill Initial. We have over 60 years of experience in the Bahamas. As a part of a global brand, our training and expertise can't be beat. Only Rent-A-Kill Initial gives you a 3-year warranty on termite fumigation with the best payment terms in the Bahamas. No one can match the range of treatments we offer, such as fumigation, pre-construction treatments, termite monitoring, and more. No matter where you are in the Bahamas, we will come to you. When it comes to complete termite eradication, there's only one name you can call on, Rent-A-Kill Initial. Call us at 322-2157.
From South Beach to Bay Street.
I'm pleased, I really dig your company.
It's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
We're back. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Of course, we have our special guest, Ms. Marilyn Zonical, Vice President, Civil Society Bahamas, and we are looking at Civil Society Bahamas, its role in national affairs in the Commonwealth of Bahamas, as well as its relations with international organizations. We have a lot of issues, Bahamians, that need immediate attention. You will have to fight because there will be those within your community who will try to put you down. But we have to do it understanding our role and what our Constitution primarily says, because that's the supreme law of the land. Of course, we have statute laws. Statute laws must come in line with constitutional law. And unfortunately, with too many of our people, we do not understand how a government ought to function. And that's why a lot of people complain. They get frustrated. They say, this one told them this, that one told them that. But they ain't sure. Even the fellows who's supposed to be doing your business sometimes get mixed up misonical. And so this causes a lot of problems. So what I do is I take time to explain when it comes to law, constitutional law, statute law, I go to great lengths to break it down, like, for example, the Electricity Act. What has just recently been passed by the Parliament of the Bahamas. And we see some things in there that ought to happen, is not happening. And so people are confused. Why is it not happening? And so these things need to be explained so that the average person, see that woman in Baintown who's making lunch for her 5 boys right now, the man in Fox Hill, with 6 daughters, he's trying to find husbands for them. I'm trying to help him out with that. He find some decent men who can marry his 6 daughters. The woman in Angleton, 3 disabled children. How disabled children need to understand too, because the Bahamian people need to have input into how their country ought to go. They have ideas, they have suggestions. We can't just operate without their cooperation. And when you look at the Electricity Act in particular, it talks about consultation, widespread consultation with the people. And there are those who will have some things in their head. They may not agree with some things. They have the opportunity to express those things. Go ahead, Ms. Onyx.
Yes, you're so right, and it's a truism that education is fundamental, because if you don't know, you can be swayed in so many directions and taken advantage of, as you said. And so the civil society sector, civil society Bahamas in particular, can bridge that gap, because it's, as I said, it's the betterment of the Bahamian people in every area, educational, social, etc. So I would say that if someone, I commend what you have been saying, that you take the different acts and you break it down. And
Because,
go
because
ahead.
see, the way how it's written, Ms. Zonical, you're going to find that the average person in Baintown, in Fort Van Castle, where I
Yes.
live, in Centerville,
Yes.
they start to read that, like our Constitution, they start
Yes.
to read that. They're not going to read that as is because they don't understand it. That's
Right,
point number
right,
one.
right, right.
Okay? So what has to happen is, as I've been doing on this show and other shows,
Right.
looking at what the law says, take all the legalese out of it,
Right.
and make it simple and plain so that the average person can get it, because they have to be involved in determining the future of this country.
Right.
You don't leave it up to a couple of people. And if you leave it up to a couple of people, you could easily be deceived and misled. I've said many times, I wish we had 150,000 like me, who understand and who know, and it's my job to help them to understand the masses,
Mhm.
because they're the ones
Mhm.
that are mostly affected and are carried here, there, and everywhere. This one say this, that one say that. And you're going to find that those very particular personalities, when you check the record, you're going to see many contradictions.
Mhm.
That confuses the persons. And so people say, well, who are we supposed to believe? Who's telling us the truth?
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay? So on this show, I stick rigidly with the Constitution.
Mhm.
That's the supreme law. And I've said to people, the Constitution is always right. It is never wrong. You can have a view, you can have an opinion, you can have an idea, you can have a suggestion. That's all permissible under the Constitution. And so people have to understand that the Constitution being supreme, you're going to find also that people feel that they could act and do it as they please, just write things on scraps of paper and say that's what they're going to go by, when it is not constitutionally sound. And we can prove it because we have the Act, we have the Constitution. We go through it in detail and point it out. Comments being made by certain personalities who have authority. The personalities have a right to express their views. And I always ask myself, is it constitutionally sound, yes or no? This is the kind of analysis one has to take in examining what those who are given the authority to do things on behalf of the Bahamian people, are they acting in their best interest, yes or no? Because if you're acting in my best interest, then I should see improvement.
Okay. As I'm listening to you, Professor Thompson, I'm thinking of all the complexities of addressing what you have just said. I said a while ago, education is
Yes.
fundamental.
Very
But
much
even
so.
education has been used to the opposite end.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Interesting,
For example, one, it's either education from a particular bias that will not benefit say everyone equally,
Yes, ma'am.
or even some have even made the case that, or the argument, I should say, that one of the reasons why you have underdeveloped countries and poor countries is because industrialization used education for their own interests.
Yes, ma'am.
They took the multifaceted education, which is more than just knowing how to do mechanical things,
Yes.
but it's also how you interact with your fellow man, how you govern your own self, and that's taught in the home, in a parental from a parental perspective, that they put you into institutions where the education is to educate you to be a better not slave, but a better person who will foster their ends as
Yes, ma'am.
opposed to your ends. So I'm grappling with how do you then respond to what you have said, because clearly our education is the key, and I
Yes.
commend you again because you are doing that. The other thing I would say, again, in the civil society sector, what they are realizing is that because they have the same concern, how do you get it to that the person who has the least, what shall I say, privileges, for want of a
Yes.
better way of putting it,
Yes,
can understand to the point where they are empowered,
Exactly.
whether they have an educational degree or whether they have resources or whether they have connection, because they have creativity through the brain. There's no
course they do.
monopoly on gray matter.
Yes.
They can use their brain. And in fact, some of the major civil society organization, one of the key philosophical bases that they are now saying is that there cannot be any effective operation to benefit the people or for a civil society organization to perform if you don't meet people where they are.
Amen.
And one of the ways they are now using to do that is using theater.
Okay.
They have plays where they act out the issues so that people could have a fundamental. And I remember seeing on UWI TV a couple of years ago, I think it was a Grenadian playwright, and he came to this conclusion. And in the interview, it came out that there was an Australian or a British lawyer. There was a topical issue at the time. I don't recall what it was, but there was a visiting a tourist, either from Australia or UK, a lawyer who was invited to view the play. And the lawyer was amazed that, yes, it was a Caribbean play, but the law that was portrayed in the play was sound.
Okay.
So they're using theater. And as you know, particularly in the Caribbean, we are verbal people, we are expressive people.
Yes, we are.
And the other thing that they're doing to address what you said is that they are appreciating they have to stop operating in silos.
I agree with that.
And everyone going off doing their thing, mind you, a good thing, but it's all like band-aids all over the
Yes,
place.
ma'am, yes,
You
that
know,
is true.
and Civil Society Bahamas has grappled with that. And one of the ways we are positioning ourselves to deal with it is something that the UN has done, and it's called clusters. Because even in that's very well known now, the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals,
Yes,
they
ma'am.
are basically clusters of problems,
Okay.
that you emphasize for solutions. So what Civil Society Bahamas has determined is that because we are an umbrella organization that represents a myriad of civil society bodies with
Yes.
different expertise and resources within it, that
Yes.
we cluster them, whether it be for the disabled, whether it be for women at risk, whether it be for youth. We
Yeah.
cluster them and we use our own internal resources. We don't wait for government to have a particular initiative to deal with an issue. We use our own internal resources to meet needs.
I'm going to comment on that. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. We have Ms. Marilyn Zonical, Vice President of Civil Society Bahamas. She's giving us some very interesting points about the organization. You can call in and ask your questions of Ms. Zonical because Civil Society Bahamas plays an important role. Bahamians, we have issues, and as she said, using our internal resources, we do not wait for a particular administrative entity to take the lead. In fact, the Constitution supports what she says, Article 24(1) of the Constitution. I always quote it, because we have to do something, Bahamians, to protect our interests, and the word interest is more than one, because different things affect different people, and we have to find a way, constitutionally we can do that, to organize ourselves, to work in harmony with each other. That's the way you build a nation. People have different talents, different abilities in various fields. And I spoke about institutional knowledge that people have, and I said I want to invite persons out there who have that, because sometimes it is challenging to get the right persons, to bring them on air, to speak publicly, as Ms. Zonical is doing today. And I'm so delighted that she agreed to come. The point is, Bahamians, we have people out there who can assist others who need the information so they can make sound decisions and good judgments. We all want a better way of life. And so it must reach persons at the very bottom of the ladder, persons in the middle, and persons at the very top. We can work in harmony with each other. We may have different points of view. We may even disagree from time to time. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But the thing is that we have to come to a consensus. And I think everybody would want to see the country move forward, upward, onward together. Brother Hyla?
I think it's interesting that as Ms. Zonical began to speak,
Yes.
I don't know if she would know, but we've been speaking to the lack of consultation on the show for quite a while, Ms. Zonical. I'll have you know. And it is also related to the Electricity Act 2024, which was just passed, supposedly coming into force June the 1st,
yes.
of 2024. And blatantly, we have had individuals from the citizenry come forward, from the unions come forward, even the managers union. Persons have come forward and stated that they're in the dark related to what was occurring at that particular time. And like you said, this is in the media. We are not being consulted with. So it's interesting that you're saying that this conversation is taking place on a regional basis.
Yes.
And international.
National,
So
yes.
we have local, look at what's happened so far in just the short time that we've been speaking. We've been able to compare notes. The entire region is experiencing what is being experienced right here in the Bahamas.
Yes.
And internationally at the United Nations level.
Yes, you said that, yes.
So at the United Nations level, at the CARICOM level, and locally, we are talking about conversations where the people must be consulted. And in terms of the CARICOM mandate from the very beginning, it was determined that we would consult the people and not go forward unless we have first consulted the people.
Yeah.
So this right now on Thursday, I don't know if you all are aware, we haven't discussed this yet. I'll just say this and then we move on to the next point. But on Thursday of this week, I'm seeing where Mr. O.B. Ferguson is calling for, I don't know if it's 8 or 10 or 12. It's like most of the unions in the Bahamas are coming together this week to discuss some of these same matters we're discussing right now.
Okay.
So it has to be an issue of some magnitude. And apparently the people are getting together to discuss what is happening.
Just before you move on, Mr. Hyler, if you would permit me, I mentioned silos before.
Yes, you did.
And even taking a concrete issue such as electricity, which represents energy, which is the lifeline of every economy,
Yes,
whether
ma'am.
it be the Bahamas, United States, etc. I mentioned the fact that the United Nations has civil society organizations or NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and consultative status with them. There are other major international bodies that have similar arrangements. For example, the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth has an array of NGOs affiliated with them. The reason why I'm mentioning this again is that if the sector, the civil society sector, which the unions are a part of, if they would reach out to their counterparts around the world who have gone through similar issues or have other solutions, you wouldn't have a certain class or a certain group of people usurping your right to energy, clean, affordable energy that is available to everybody.
Yes, understood.
So I just wanted to make that.
No, that's an interesting point, Ms. Zonico.
It's very important.
Very important.
We can highlight it. We can highlight basically what you're saying is reach out to your counterparts.
Yes.
Collaborate locally, collaborate regionally.
Yes.
And international.
I agree with that.
Just reach out for solutions, discussions, and find a way forward.
And I'll add to that, because I'll come back to, and forgive me, Mr. Thompson, I think you wanted to say something.
No, go right ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll speak after you.
I was mentioning before the break about the representative at the regional meeting that I attended, where they were saying that the organization needs to become self-sufficient. And as I indicated, his point was basically, I would say brushed aside, but the response was, there's nothing we can do because we've tried this, and I took the floor to say, to support him, this person, I said, I hear what you all are saying, basically, but there is something we can do.
Of course we can.
I said, first of all, I said, we are in an age of technology.
Yes, ma'am.
Secondly, we have young people today who are brilliant.
Very much so.
Why don't we tap our young people, tap technology, and you can leapfrog these blocks, these blockages.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, and I'm really referencing this with the energy sector and electricity as well. Who knows, the young minds in the Bahamas and that have that are represented in the wider world because they're studying or what have you. They may come up with solutions that you don't need to be dependent on fossil fuels or even certain renewable energy. And this may sound really off the wall, but I'm going to say it. When they talk about UFOs, they said that UFOs, they can't fathom whatever is the technology that operates them.
Yes, ma'am. But
the Bible says we are God's highest creation.
Yes, we are.
So we are even higher than whoever are the intelligence that did UFOs. So why don't we apply that? And we may not even have to deal with some of what is we're grappling with today.
Right, I agree with you. I hear the music in the background, so my producer's telling me I need to shut up. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson. We are delighted to have Ms. Marilyn Zonico here from Civil Society Bahamas. We're having an interesting discussion. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, 8130-271. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on Express Yourself. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Fall is here, and so are the incredible advertising deals at Global 99.5 FM. Whether you're launching a new product, promoting holiday sales, or just want to get your brand out there, we've got you covered with unbeatable rates this season. Reach thousands of potential customers and boost your business before the holidays hit. Call 326-0271 or just email sales@globalradio995fm.com to learn more about our fall advertising promotions. Global 99.5 FM, reaching customers wherever they are for your success.
As we celebrate the season of Thanksgiving, Variety Disposable Products would like to wish you and yours a very blessed Thanksgiving season. Throughout the month of November, Variety Disposable will donate to Hands for Hunger and invite you to do the same. Variety is stocked with all of your essentials, such as food and cake trays, stuffing, seasonings, foil pans, and oval pans for your ham and turkey. Visit Variety Disposable Products located on Faith Avenue and Soldier Road, or call us at 341-9010 or 325-7071.
Summertime is for traveling and also shopping for back to school. The Brass and Leather Shop and the Luggage Store have exciting luggage collections like Land, Briggs & Riley, Tucci, and Travel Light. And ask about our packing cubes. Our back to school brands are worth a trip to our stores. Land, Kipling, Toto, or Herschel offer a range of school bags for kids and the college students. And don't forget to get one of our great Land leather belts. See you soon at any one of our 3 locations: Charlotte Street, the Mall at Marathon, or on the corner of East Avenue and 6th Terrace.
Nassau Motor Company knows that finding the right part for your car is important. That's why you can count on us to give you a quality AC Delco part, like maintenance-free batteries for quicker starts and pressure-tested water pumps for years of smooth operation. AC Delco parts are made to strict GM specifications and fit most cars and trucks in the Bahamas. Nassau Motor Company, AC Delco, and you, a winning combination.
Wise Bahamian shoppers know when times are hard and things are tough, it's more sensible and convenient to shop at YK's Fashion Center. YK's has slashed prices on brand name clothing and shoes by up to 50%, including academics, Clarks, polo, and hundreds of jeans and dicky pants. And as much as 70% on selected items. Choose from a large selection of beds, sheets, rugs, and towels, all at affordable prices. YK's has 3 locations to serve you: Bahama Avenue, Prince Charles, and East Street South near the Sir Charles Hotel. YK's, where you can afford to look good.
Bahamian feel-good food in the right atmosphere. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whichever you choose. It's the Cricket Club Restaurant at Haynes Point, West Bay Street. The food is off the chain. Bahamian breakfast. We talking stew cow, stew fish, and sheeptown sauce. And for lunch, crab soup, okra soup, and pea soup and dumpling. Man! And for dinner, they got mahi seafood platter or steak and shrimp. Only $28.95 per person. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner at the Cricket Club Restaurant. Call 326-4720 for reservations. Oh, and don't forget, there's a live band, The Magic Touch, every Friday night. See
From
you
Cable
there.
Beach to Montague, it's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Express Yourself on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson. We're having a very interesting discussion on national issues that affect the Bahamian people. Our special guest, Vice President of Civil Society Bahamas, Ms. Marilyn Zonico. And we are delighted to have her. And of course, we are getting to understand the role of civil society Bahamas. Bahamians, there's a lot that you can do. You have to be involved in bringing about changes on the ground in your local community where you live. Do not just sit on the sidelines and just watch things happen. It takes the cooperation, it takes the collective will of a people. And I always refer to Article 24.1 of the Constitution. Some tell me Article 23.2. But the point is that in Article 24.1 of your Constitution, it talks about the people having the authority to protect their interests. You don't just leave it up to some other people to do it for you, because it won't happen. Because there are times when people will do some things that are not in your best interest, even though they will tell you it is good for you. It's in your best interest. You have to be able to evaluate Bahamians as to who is being upfront and honest with you. And this is a major problem we have in our society because there are many things that are happening that are affecting the Bahamian people right on the ground in their local community where they live and are living for the last 51 years plus. Are we seeing any benefits? What about the lives of those people? You know how many people had high hopes? And so civil society gives you hope for a better country, a better future. And that's what people need. But unfortunately, we have had many that have passed, young people in particular, who are not here, who had high hopes. We have to find a way how we can help our young people because they have a role to play. We can't just ostracize them. They can make a meaningful contribution and change the way we run things in this place. We need their input. We have to give them that input. Ms. Arnicle.
Well, I'm going to respond. You were saying that we can take your destiny in your own hands, Professor Thompson, and Civil Society Bahamas represents an avenue for that. And I will illustrate that by just referencing the other standing committees. I won't go into detail as I was, because I understand there's a question from the audience.
Yes, that's correct.
And so I'll just reference the standing committees that any Bahamian can join Civil Society Bahamas and become a member of one of these committees and start being the change you want to see.
Praise the Lord.
Excellent.
So I mentioned already the Governance and National Affairs Committee, the Finance Standing Committee, Membership and Education, Public Relations, Fundraising, Research and Policy, the establishment of a National Food Cooperative, Economic Affairs Standing Committee, and Resident Expert Standing Committee.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that's, I mean, it's a lot of layers.
Yes.
A lot of departments, a lot of committees. Are these committees all active at this time?
They're all active.
Excellent. Excellent.
Very good.
So you're seeing results, progress. Obviously, each committee would have its own plan.
Yes, we have just gone the new board that was elected at the beginning of this year, under the presidency of Dr. Anthony Hamilton. We have been going through revising the terms of reference that's in the bylaws, and I just quoted you from the bylaws, to make these committees even more responsive to national and current needs.
Okay.
So I could give examples, but again,
Yes.
in the interest of time.
Yeah. Well, you referred to civil society as the tip of the spear, and I just wanted to bring that up again, because, like you said, the aspirations of the people, if they feel like something is not happening the way it should be, they can join civil society and be a part of that change, as you said.
Yes.
You also referenced during COVID how y'all played an integral part, basically, in bringing forward solutions, having conversations, and allowing the government to interact with the community, basically with the people, and that is very important. We do have a question here out of Grand Bahama, and they're basically on a different subject matter. They're asking, what is civil society doing to address the immigration situation, and how can we approach that in a way to make a better Bahamas? This is the way they worded it, to make it a better Bahamas. And they're saying, signed the mayor of Grand Bahama.
Okay, I'll tackle that question in three ways. One, Civil Society Bahamas is doing something in a more general sense. As I indicated, our constitution says that we are for the betterment of the Bahamian people. And as I started to say earlier as well, we are in direct, almost weekly contact with different ministries, different arms of government. And I started to say that in addition to the partnership during COVID-19, we have been asked to sit on committees or task force that address specific issues. One of them in the context of the National Food Cooperative Committee that I chair. In doing some research on that, I ended up going to the Ministry of Health, and I ended up being invited to join the Healthy Bahamas Coalition, which is a body of the Ministry of Health and Wellness dedicated to dealing with non-communicable diseases in our country, meaning high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, etc., violence, etc. But to answer the question, that's the first point I would make, that because civil society, our constitution says that we have a mandate to address every challenge that is besetting our people, that we are doing that, and wherever we have the opportunity, whether it's nationally through dialoguing with the public sector, or whether it's regionally, we bring the needs and the issues of the Bahamian people to the fore for results, not just for talk. So that's generally, but now more specific. The second way I would answer that question is what we were already agreeing earlier on, that you have to take personal responsibility. You have to be the change that you want to be. When it comes to immigration in our country, we are the ones that are at fault. Why do I say that? I say that because generally, one way of saying it is, as you know, the greatest challenge, obvious challenge, is the illegal Haitian immigration. But the government will tell you, and if you listen carefully to some of the reports that come out of the ministry that deals with immigration, it's not just Haitians that are being repatriated. There are people from Latin America, Africa, America, United States of America, Canada, etc. And then there's the other side of the coin of the more high-end immigration, the white collar, so to speak, so it's a complex issue, but the one that's in your face more, I would say, is the illegal Haitian migration and Caribbean migration to a lesser degree. So those who look at this say part of the problem is Bahamians will say, yes, we want to repatriate all the illegals, particularly the illegal Haitians, but not my Haitian.
Yes.
But I'm going to take it deeper. Why we are part of the problem. We are part of the problem because, as Professor Thompson reminded us at the outset of the program, our Constitution, our preamble says we are founded on Judeo-Christian principles. And when you look at what that means and understand what that means, it says that you are to honor, I wouldn't use the term honor, you are to be kind, be generous to the foreigner, because the Bible used the illustration of the Jews, the Hebrews, that you were once foreigners.
Yes,
so there's no question of xenophobia when it comes to, from a Christian perspective, when it comes to immigration, whether it's illegal or it's not. You are supposed to care for them. The Good Samaritan is another example. But linked to that, the Judeo-Christian context from which our preamble comes says that you are to have first loyalty to your God.
That's right.
Yahweh. And it says, in fact, the whole human creation was created for his glory. So whether you have it in your constitution or not, you're going to have to give an account one day before your creator.
Amen.
But coming more to the point, the context of the Judeo-Christian principles on which our constitution is founded in the preamble says that because you are to give first allegiance to your creator, the Almighty Yahweh. When the stranger, the foreigner, comes into your land or into your environment, they are supposed to follow your values.
That's correct.
They're not supposed to bring in their or
That is correct.
you take on their values.
That's
So
right.
what are we doing about illegal immigration, the immigration? You have to do something about it.
Yes,
Apply your constitution, apply your Christian values. But again, it's not xenophobia, as I said. But we are supposed to set the tone.
Yes,
And if
ma'am.
we set the tone, what is happening, people talk about, mixing cultures and mixing genes and all of that creates part of the problem. That wouldn't arise.
It wouldn't.
But the last point I would make in terms of what are you dealing with immigration, again, there is an onus on our government because they are delegated. Their highest responsibility is not social, it's even not economic, it's security.
Yes.
Because Romans says that governments are ordained as for order.
That's correct.
Okay, so we have an immigration act. That act regulates who becomes a citizen in our country.
Understood.
Are we applying fully that act? That act indicates that anyone who becomes a citizen is supposed to demonstrate that they have accepted the culture, the language of the Bahamas.
Yes.
Are we applying the systems so that and our culture is a superior culture? And why do I make such a bold statement? Because it's a culture that recognizes the creator of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
universe and
That's correct.
our creator. I mean, our national anthem says it clearly that, in fact, the Holy Spirit even said to me some years ago, your national anthem is a prophecy. And that prophecy says, you Bahamians, when we excel in sports, when we excel in other areas, that's not a fluke or that's not a coincidence. We excel because there is a global core destiny for the nation of the Bahamas.
I believe that. Yes, ma'am.
And that is enshrined in our national. See
Yes,
how
it
the
is.
world
Marks the man of your bearing. That's right.
So what is CSB doing about immigration? What are you doing about immigration?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. That's a valid point. I agree with you, Ms. Zonical, in what you're saying. This is where the citizenry has to examine what's going on. They have a role to play, a collective role, because we have to become involved, just like you said with the Judeo-Christian principle. The stranger is to take on what we have. In other words, they ain't supposed to bring them funny things in here. You want to be Bahamian? Then this is what we do here. That needs to be emphasized. The rules have to be applied in these circumstances. And we have to examine what we have been doing. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is the supreme law when it comes to citizenship. We have a number of articles in there that speak specifically how a person can qualify for citizenship. We have to examine ourselves to see how we've been dealing with that over the last 51 years. Because we have some issues that we need to look at objectively and deal with it. You can't say, the fella been here, he did this, he did that, he did the next thing. What does the law say? And that's how I always look at it. What does the Constitution say? What does the Immigration Act say? And if we were to follow the law according to what it says, we can have better results. And unfortunately, when you look at our situation, we have some strange things happening, which are not constitutionally sound. and which are not in accordance with the Immigration Act. And that is causing problems for our people. So we have to move on and deal with it according to law. Brother Hyler.
You know, it seems like in many areas it could be argued that we not only have great challenges, but I would venture to say that we have crisis in multiple areas. Now, we're discussing immigration among other things, right? We have a situation where, and it was just announced recently, that we are dispatching a group of the uniform branch of the Bahamas. First, we sent police officers. Now we're sending others to Haiti in particular. And we don't have to single out Haiti, but when we look at the crisis, our leaders are not operating or functioning like there's a crisis going on. This is my personal view. They appear to be operating business as usual. And it is not business as usual as we look into different areas.
Yes.
And we can isolate them. Look at immigration. We had reports coming from the Coast Guard, and we've read reports on this show.
Yes, we did.
That the US government has launched unprecedented air, land, and sea operations around the clock in response to a migration crisis. That's what a government does. When you're talking about protecting sovereignty, when you talk about protecting your people. I heard, and my heart ached when I heard a cry go out from the US government telling others, basically, please warn migrants of the danger of traveling the high seas.
Yes.
We read a report on the show. After we read that report, we would have heard about vessels lost at sea, entire vessels lost at sea with many lives on board. I particularly heard, and sympathies to the family. There was one particular young man, because he was popular on social media,
Yes.
and because he was an entertainer,
Yes.
the call went out for this one man. It's like, what happened to him? And when I said, hold on, are we all looking at the same thing? There is a report that he was among 62 or so souls.
Yes.
And I'm like, where there's Haitians, where there's Bahamians, we don't know if there are other nationalities. I sat to myself and I'm like, we will never know what happened.
What happened,
They've
yes.
said there's a vessel that took a voyage from Abaco to Fort Myers, is what was believed.
Yes.
That is what was purported. And that was only one incident, Professor.
One incident. That's correct. Yes.
Ms. Zonical, that's only one incident. We don't know how many incidents are taking place, but I just want to draw our attention. I want to repeat, the US government said they had like 2 months operation, day and night. And they are in high gear of search and rescue. And we sitting here in the Bahamas like nothing is happening.
That's correct.
This is with our heads buried in the sand. This is not how you operate on a government. This is not how you even show compassion.
Yes.
To your neighbors. They are in a crisis. They are departing. We are getting reports over and over. Every other week we're getting reports. One of the latest reports came out of the Dominican Republic. It is almost unreal.
That's right.
Almost unfathomable. The Dominican Republic reported that they, last week or so, began repatriation exercises.
Yes.
To the tune of 10,000.
That's right.
Per week.
Per week, yes.
That's the Dominican Republic. 10,000 per week that they are going to repatriate. What is the Bahamas doing? Are we doing anything? Are our heads in the sand? So if we're going to show compassion and Ms. Onicle said, it's not a matter of xenophobia. I
No.
think we've proven to the world
Definitely.
nobody loves their neighbors more than the Bahamas.
You're right
Whether
about
it be
that.
Cuban, whether it be Venezuelan,
That's right.
whether it be Haitian, whether it be Jamaican, nobody loves the Caribbean peoples more than the Bahamas.
Yes.
I could say this
Yeah, we've proven it. Yeah, very much so.
unequivocally.
Yes.
We have shown that we love them as we love ourselves.
Yes.
Who else gonna love them the way
As
we
have
care
done.
for them?
Yes, that's correct.
Now there comes sovereignty. It comes. We have limited resources.
Very much so.
We have a space. We have our own challenges. So we need to, as a region, face our challenges, not
Yes.
heaping up more burden on one. So that's how I am looking at it, Professor.
No, I'm not disagreeing with anything you said. Now, another thing I want to add to that is this. We've been
But
hearing
if
them
I-
talking
if-
about.
If I may,
Oh,
don't lose
okay.
your train of thought.
Okay, go
Professor.
ahead.
Please
Go
don't. Because Mr. Hyler raised a very, very important issue.
Yes, it did.
Are we no longer caring for our
Mhm.
fellow man?
Mhm.
Where is the sense of urgency?
Yes, ma'am.
And why? And the reason why it's so important, Mr. Hyler, is that this was brought to my attention about over 30 years ago from the Holy Spirit himself. I was in the context of a prayer meeting. I was invited to an early morning prayer meeting, 5 days, Monday to Friday. The third morning, I went back to my seat, and as I was waiting for people to be reassembled and dismissed, the Holy Spirit said to me clearly, Marilyn, do you know the Bahamas is known for sun, sand, sea, sin, and sex, but it can be known as a nation for the healing of the nations? And I said, Father, if I say this, people are going to think I'm off my rocker. And he said, I'm going to give you irrefutable evidence that the Bahamas is special to me. He's now given me about 7 or 8 examples. I won't go into in the interest of time. But my point is, 30 years ago, I didn't, when he said specifically healing of the nations, but he also said, but she herself must first be healed.
Yes.
I didn't understand the essence of healing 30 years ago. I thought healing was when you got scraped and a scab came, and
Yes,
once
ma'am.
the scab fell off, it was healed.
It was healed, yes.
But he was talking about what you are addressing, the traumas that not just from immigration, but family traumas, family
ma'am.
conflict,
That's correct.
violence,
Yes.
exploitation, corruption,
That is correct.
disappointment. He was talking about all of
All
that.
of it.
Yes,
All of it.
And he said, and he wants to heal the Bahamas because the Bahamas is special to
Yes.
him.
Yes.
And he has proven that he is healing the Bahamas. Why? Because there is still a remnant that acknowledges him. And
Yes,
I'll give a practical, more recent example. But before I give the example, I just want to underscore that we cannot become desensitized. If our government becomes desensitized, then we have to
As a
take up the
people.
slack
We have to. Yes,
through
ma'am.
either organizations like Civil Society Bahamas or others that are doing what. But do I have time to give the practical example?
No, I have to stop you right at this
After.
point because the music is on, and so I got to move to the break. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5. We are Express Yourself. We're having an interesting conversation, but we have to go to this break. We will be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Are you feeling the chaos of everyday life? Behold the solution. It's time to book an appointment for your precious peace of mind. October 21st through 25th is Spa Week at Windermere Day Spa. You may need a stress relief massage, just $60. A revitalizer facial, $60. Body polish, just $60. How about a Swedish massage at just $88? Or you might just need that take me away moment with a deep tissue massage, just $95. Treat yourself to Spa Week at Windermere Day Spa, October 21st through 25th. 327-6135 or 6 Cades Village, or 393-0033 or 393-8788 Harbor Bay. Call now. You deserve
The
it.
Central Bank of the Bahamas invites students from grade 4 up to a bachelor's degree to compete in the Get Money Smart Bahamas video essay competition. Students must produce a 3 to 5 minute video sharing their views on the topic. The financial sector is unprepared for the potential impact of climate change on the Bahamas. Entry deadline is November 1st, 2024. For contest rules and submission guideline, visit Get Money Smart Bahamas on Facebook. Go to www.centralbankbahamas.com or send an email to literacy@centralbankbahamas.com.
At Audio Plus, we carry a large selection of DJ and audio products like speakers, mixers, microphone, car audio players, and much more. You can also find a wide selection of musical instruments like marching drums, Junkanoo drums in a wide variety of colors, trumpets, clarinets, trombones, Yamaha keyboards, and Fender guitars at special low prices. Visit Audio Plus on Soldier Road, located in the Caries Plaza. Open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Phone number 394-6668. Audio Plus, your #1 music store.
Great news! Ron's Electric Motors' new location on Cowpen Road, right next to Island Luck, is open Saturdays and Sundays. So for those needing repairs on electric motors, generators, welding machines, water pumps, battery chargers, electric lifts, transformers, and power tools, Ron's Cowpen Road location can have you up and running on weekends. Don't forget, you can still visit Ron's Electric Motors on Wolf Road and Claridge Road, and now Ron's new location on Cowpen Road. Dial 356-0249 or 323-5267.
Limbo. Oh.
Man, what you doing way down there on the ground with that limbo stick?
Well, I was in a competition with Bahamas Liquidation and Auction Center. Their price is so low, I want to see if I could go even lower.
You should know better than that. Bahamas Liquidation and Auction Center has general quality merchandise, furniture, homewares, and groceries, but their prices can't be beat. No one has better quality with lower prices. Come to think of it, I need to get there right now to catch those low prices. See ya.
Wait, you can't help me up? Oh boy. That's Bahamas Liquidation and Auction Center on Marquis Street. Good buys at low prices.
Here we go. How low can we go? Come on. Here we go now. How low can we go?
Steve Harvey here from the Steve Harvey Morning Show. Everybody knows that I love to chill out with great music. There's only one place you can get this. Tonight at 7 p.m.
As soon as you clock off from work, make sure you lock right into me. I'm Lenny Green from The Quiet Storm, inviting you to come on over. I've got all of that R&B ear candy that you love. Plus, we'll engage in conversations inside a confession of love and so much more. And you never know who's going to drop by. It's The Quiet Storm, all three on the way tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on Global 99.5. I'm Lenny Green from The Quiet Storm. Keep it going.
From Easton Street to Blue Hill Road, it's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Express Yourself on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We're in the last part of the show. I wanted to say something before the break. But the thing is that we've been hearing about shanty towns being knocked down. I haven't heard anything about any repatriations by our administration in relation to people who are here unlawfully. Now, what I've seen a whole lot of people moving around in the country. Do we know how many we have here? I see some very strange faces. And don't tell me I don't know what a Bahamian is. I know what a Bahamian is like. Because we are to have people in our midst who are to do what? The Judeo-Christian principle is for them to adopt our way of life, not to allow people in here to bring whatever they want to bring, do whatever they want to do in our own country. That's not godly at all. So we have a responsibility to make sure that those who are given the authority to run our affairs are running it properly. That's our responsibility. So when they go off track, it is our duty to bring them on track. Now, I've been doing what I can on this show in relation to the Constitution and other national issues to impart information to the Bahamian people that is accurate and precise. That is very, very important. Do we have a caller? I didn't hear anything. Okay. Yeah. All right. So what has happened is that we have a responsibility to be able to help because the problems are very, very serious. Of course, we have to have repentance. We have to repent of our wicked ways. Now, some people may not like that, but God says we have wicked ways. Even his own people got wicked ways. I tell people every day, I got to struggle with my own carnal nature because we have to overcome that. And if we don't overcome it, we're headed for worse problems than what we have right now. But we have an opportunity. There's something about the Bahamas that God wants to do. In fact, we have had that from Dr. Miles Monroe. He said it. We've had others. Nicholas Seymour has said it. And I think we're beginning to see hardcore evidence that there's something about the Bahamas that God wants to do. And he will do it. And he's not going to allow anyone, because he said his word will not go out void. It will come back and it will do as he said he would like to do. I believe we have a call on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Mr. Butterfly.
Hey, what's happening, man?
Yeah, everything good, man. But
Yeah.
I still having the problems. I know I may go off the topic, but still having the problems with these shipping companies, man.
Oh, okay.
Remember we talked about
Yes,
last
you
time,
did.
but we seen it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
You don't believe I try on that shipping company and they telling me 30% again now. Now, how in the world a shipping company, they don't the government who they collecting the government money,
Yes.
not bring them up to speed that duty change.
Yeah, okay. All right. No, that's a very valid point. You talk about the duty change, and it should be applied from the time it came into effect.
That's
And they're
correct.
not adhering to it.
And they still going on this old. So you imagine how much people they get robbed. That's why you see some of these couriers, a certain courier or shipping company right now, they must have been almost 10 different places own the building. Back in the day, these people them used to rent buildings. These people
Yes.
them come here and own all the buildings.
Okay.
You understand where I come from?
Yes.
And they just want someone who I had to fight to try to get my money back because they telling me 30% is on their books. And I show them that government 20 is still free, duty free.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I mean, what's going on? See, Professor, what I believe, Professor, they have to begin. See, when they analyze, some of these companies, they government give them 100. Say they have their cap is $100,000 for the government. As long as they collect $100,000, if they collect $200,000 on VAT for the government only want 100,000.
I'm
You know,
listening.
right?
Yeah, okay.
So what you think that is?
Brother
You don't think they
Hala,
robbing the people then?
Brother Hala,
Because if you collect, watch out. So if they charge me, if it's a duty free, if it's a duty free item and they charge me 30% on that, you don't think they can be over? You don't think they can go over the $100,000? I mean, a professor.
yes.
And so who lose? The people them lose, and
Yes,
they
they
robbing.
are.
That's highway robbery. I mean, professor.
Yes, sir. Brother Hala,
As the callers there, we're going to follow up
we have to
with
follow
this.
up on that. Yeah.
Other persons that are listening, please call. Do not sit in silence.
Yes.
If you are experiencing where you're being overcharged. Now, last week, the Consumer Protection Agency did go on record as saying that they are receiving complaints. And the number one complaints right now are coming from the courier business
Yes.
and air freight. Well, I can't say air freight, but from the freight business and courier business. So it lines up with what is actually happening. And we will address it here. We have civil society here. This is a part of what they do, not just bring attention, but they sort of put a magnifying glass on issues that are facing the public. So they are here, and we're going to, of course, formally put that to them to look into. But this is very serious, because you're talking about the cost of living. You're talking about the quality of life. And if this one caller is experiencing this, he's not the only one. And I can say to Ms. Arnicle that we've had situations where persons have been reluctant to come forward.
Yes, we have.
We've challenged them. We'd have one or two persons call to mention issues that they're facing. And when we would ask, is anybody else experiencing this? Please call in. It would be a reluctance to do so.
Yeah. Paul, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
The thing with it, Professor, it's not only one courier, all doing the same thing. I call them, and all of them on the same page. Come on, Jenny. See, the difference is now, if I'd have gone to one, right, or two, but everyone telling me paying it's 30%.
Yes.
So
when it's supposed to be duty free.
It's duty free, and. But this is good, Professor. During the first time I had to battle with companies and tell them duty-free items. During the first time, Professor.
Yes.
And these people, biggity. See, the thing with it ain't like they trying to wait for you. These people actually trying to make sure they get this money for government. So it make me feel like they have to be getting some of this deal, Professor. Because if I paying you for your shipping and handling, your insurance rate, this rate, you get me your money up front. Why are you still trying to hassle me for government money?
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
See, that's something you have to look into,
Yeah, yes. We have to look into that.
Listen to me good. I speak to someone who in business. They told me some of these companies threshold is $100,000 when they collect from government every month or so. And if they go over 100,000, 200,000, the government only want 100,000. They get 100,000 in their pocket off the black people, off the poor people back. And we don't have the one to run to. Who we have to run to? Because they more biggity. If we had someone to run to.
Ms. Arnicle, you want to comment on that?
Yes, I'll say this. Thank you, Professor Thompson. I will definitely bring it to the attention of our board.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would also say what Mr. Hyler said, that you have to go back to the source, i.e. the government agency responsible. And in terms of what you said, Professor and Mr. Hyler, that when you try to assist the citizenry who feels that they are being taken advantage of, that they don't come forward.
No, they don't. That is a problem.
I'm wondering if that could be solved, if you could have like maybe a dedicated hotline or even website that they can lodge their complaints with evidence.
Yes, you need the evidence, yes.
And then a comprehensive case, can be put forward. And I'm sure that organizations like Civil Society Bahamas would be prepared to directly take the case with the evidence to government agencies, because as I indicated, we have had the privilege to be able to dialogue directly with these agencies at the highest level, meaning from the minister on down.
Well, that's good, Caller, you still there?
Yeah, I still there, but let's make it, Professor. I've been shipping for years, and I had problems with that. I've been having problems with these shipping companies. With no love, and especially I wouldn't call the name, but if I know I call the name, plenty of people had problems. They have problems with this certain place, but just come and they blow up. I talk about there have to be someone behind this. I'm not watching what they're doing, but they gotta be anywhere in the world. If someone show you, if I go to the company and show you the government post out 2024, and you still won't bother me for that? It'll have to be. It's a question. That
No, we have
question
to
mark.
address that, Professor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna please stay connected with Global Radio. We are talking, but we are also connecting you with persons that are taking action. So we're not just talking. We're glad that you called.
Yes, you did.
But please continue to listen. Other persons that are experiencing the same thing, please call in. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. I hope the professor don't mind me saying that.
No.
But if you're experiencing injustice, if you're having your life frustrated, or you experiencing deprivation, then your constitutional right is being violated.
Terribly violated.
And the laws that are being passed to change. I'll make this one comment, which is very interesting, because we're talking about going towards a global economy. And we're supposed to be, even with the implementation of VAT, we're supposed to be experiencing continually decreasing import duties. You're supposed to be moving away from the import duties. And that's the purpose of the VAT. Right now, VAT is the greatest source of income for the government.
Yes.
We in excess of $600 million. So we are heading towards like $750 million. This is how much VAT alone is coming off of the backs of the people.
Yes,
So Bahamians, we have to speak up. Nobody is operating in the spirit of meanness. We're operating in the spirit of protecting your interests.
Okay, caller, thank you for your contribution, and stay tuned. Okay. This Ms. Arnicle, you wanted to make a comment?
Yes, not so much a comment on that, but
Yes, ma'am.
before the break, I was going to give a practical example of the point we were discussing before. I think going broader into the issue of immigration.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And it is that despite our challenges, I started my remarks this afternoon with hope, and I will repeat that because despite all of the, as I said, the challenges that we have in our country, we are still a really, truly blessed nation.
Yes, yeah.
And I was reminded of that when I traveled back home from the regional conference that I mentioned last week in Barbados. And how it was brought to me was that I was on an airline that traveled Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica, Bahamas. And when we got finally the last leg, after picking up passengers along the way, when we got to Nassau Linden Pinling International Airport, 99, I would say, % of the people on that plane were not Bahamians.
Yes, ma'am.
And that spoke to me.
Yes.
Wow.
That said
That says a lot.
Wow.
Precisely that.
That says a lot.
Wow.
The attraction that we have. And I'll end with this. I happened to sit next to a Jamaican lady who I found out was married to a Bahamian. And sitting next to her was a young man, I would say in his late teens or early 20s. And she shared with me, I've asked my Bahamian husband to sponsor him. So the point I'm making is that we think we have all the hardships, and we do. But when you step back, we are still a truly blessed nation.
Yes, we are.
That
Yes,
so
ma'am.
many are still
Definitely.
are wanting to be attracted to come here. And
Yes.
it's not just the Caribbean, as I said a while ago. It's from it's Europeans, it's Americans,
Yes.
Canadians, etc.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that is a valid point that you mentioned, because that is true. I believe we have another caller on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good day, Brother Thompson. Good day,
Yes,
Brother
sir.
Highland. Good day to your guest, sir.
Good day. Good day.
Good afternoon.
I just want to comment quickly on something. I didn't tune into the whole show, and I apologize, but I got the job when y'all were talking about, I guess, immigration and different things like that. But Brother Highland, you said something, and I feel as if, though, that in the Bahamas, we have this unique attitude where we speak in hyperbole, and we just see ourselves as being all good and we don't see the wrong about our own selves. You know, that kind of. And the reason why I said that to you, but Hyla, is because you said that the whole Caribbean knows that no one in the Caribbean loves Caribbean people more than the Bahamas, right? Now, that only could be an assumption that a Bahamian made, you know, because from what I've heard from the rest of the Caribbean, they feel as if out of all of the people in this region, we as black people are the least black. You know what I mean? We appreciate our blackness the least than everybody else. You know what I mean? So we feel as if we're better than everybody else. That's the general attitude that the rest of the Caribbean has.
I hear you.
No, hold on. I got to ask you. Is this a perception coming from person on the outside? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't hear you, sir.
You're saying that is the perception coming from persons on the outside who are not Bahamians?
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about when, but I think, Hyla said that you know the people in the Caribbean feel that way. So if he's talking about how the people in the Caribbean feel, then obviously that's an outside opinion. You know,
I know what he was saying. You were saying that.
What I was saying was we have demonstrated.
No,
but I hear what you're saying too.
Yeah, that's
the perception, and this is what Professor is trying to ask. If you're saying that the outside perception by Caribbean persons is that we think that we are better than people,
that's what
we are separating. And you know what I would say to you? When you believe you are better than other people, you separate yourself from other people. And we are not doing that. As a matter of fact, Haiti can basically, in particular, and even Jamaicans can barely go to any other nation in the Caribbean. Without going too far into it, the Cayman Islands used to be a place, Aruba. These are places where you could just go and fit right in to the tourism sector, wherever you are from in the Caribbean. But that has changed. I'll allow you to go on with your point.
Yes, sir. But see, Brother Hyla, I live here too, Brother Hyla.
Yeah.
So that outside opinion, you'll find that from Bahamians here who own us too.
Okay,
you know what I mean? 'Cause that's how I feel about us too, Brother Hyla. Because I sometimes I think to myself, for years I've been thinking to myself, if there ever comes a time in the Bahamas when we find ourselves in a state that other nations have found themselves in, like the valuation of their money and when reality. And I say we'll be in problems because we have had this attitude, right, where the rest of the people around us wouldn't be too happy to welcome us.
That's a very serious point.
They'll be more like sitting back, say, okay, now y'all go feel what we feel. Now y'all get a chance to experience what we experience, because we do have an attitude like that, but Hyla.
Okay, so how does that?
I've lived here all my life and I've seen it.
Put the caller on hold, please. How does that contrast with what you said, Brother Hyla?
Yeah,
I'm getting two different things.
I hear
right
the
here.
two different things.
Yeah, okay.
And we can bring him on shortly because
explain that.
It's one thing to, like the Bible would say, do not think more highly of yourself than you ought to think.
True, yeah.
So it's one thing to have dignity about yourself, and it's a different thing to think that you're better than other people, because you tend to look down on other people when you think you're better than other people. But I don't think that we look down on other people in terms of once we have food to eat, we'll share. But we carry ourselves with a certain level of dignity that comes from knowing who you are,
Exactly.
So I'll just say one other thing. If you're talking about arrogance, then now you're talking about you living high on the horse and you being arrogant. But in terms of having dignity about yourself and the way you carry yourself, that's just a matter of being dignified. Because the same thing could be said if you would allow me, right in the Bahamian family.
Yeah.
We feel like maybe, let's say, Abaconians and Grand Bahamians may feel like they are, because of you could say the affluence per se, because of right now, we need one another. And perhaps I didn't see an outpouring of persons from New Providence. If you're living in Christian love, I feel like from Dorian, Nassau should have been empty going to help Grand Bahama or Abaco. My point being, we may feel like, well, they have enough. you see what I mean? They have enough or whatnot. But if the call is still there,
No,
producer,
bring him back up.
Can I
and
make a
then
point?
Ms. Zonical
Ms.
wanted to
Zonical wanted to
comment.
make a comment, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll just
Go ahead, caller.
Okay, I'll just see if I can sum up quickly. But Brother Thompson, I mean, for me, like I said, I've lived here,
Yes, you have.
for quite some time, right? And I
Yes.
mean, I've just seen this recycling of topics and pointing fingers and et cetera. And I mean, and if we continue like this, the cycle is going to continue, right?
Okay.
Because Brother Thompson, I'd asked you before, Brother Thompson, like how did this immigration thing become such a major problem for us?
Yes.
Because I'd asked you
Yes, you did.
prior to majority rule and et
Yes.
cetera, if the Haitians was a problem, you know
Yes.
what I mean, or if every black man here was just a black man, you know what I mean? I asked you, how is it that the moment that we became independent, or the moment that we granted, as black people took over, that the Haitian became our problem, and when the people who was our biggest problem was holding us back was about different skin color.
Okay.
You see, because but I'm going to end, and I'm going to say to Brother Hyla,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot I can say, right, Brother Hyla, but I've been disappointed in my people in this country, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way they celebrate
Mm-hmm.
and the way they push, even though they might say that the people might be illegal or whatever, they black just like me and you, and
Right.
I mean, and they risk their lives coming across the sea, and as human beings, we should consider that in the Bible talk about how we should treat the stranger, right?
Right, right.
But then I watch my people celebrate and push for these people's homes to be pushed down, right? The people who have children living in these homes, children who are going to stand back
Right.
and watch and see how the Bahamians treat their mothers and their fathers. I mean, that's a serious burden to
Yeah, I
carry, and a
understand
serious
your point.
hatred to carry when people do something to your mommy and your daddy, you see.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
so where is that Christian love? You know what I mean? And where and like I said before, how is it that these individuals have become our number one problem? Because whenever we have any kind of issue in this country, it seems as if it always reverts back to this immigration issue. Right?
Okay, caller, I'm going to have to cut you because we are getting very
Yes,
late
sir.
to the end
Thank
of
you
the
for the
show.
time.
And I
Thank you very much.
receive your point too.
Okay, Ms. Zonical, go ahead, please.
I'll just add, I support everything you've said, Mr. Hyler. I will just add that the caller is right, that there is a perception that, the rest, the Southern Caribbean, look at the Bahamians in a different way, because I've lived it, because I've studied in the Caribbean, and
Yes,
I've
ma'am.
been exposed to it, in many ways. But I guess the basic point I want to make is that you will always have human nature
Yes.
demonstrating itself in
Exactly.
these non-positive ways.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
you yourself have to have the confidence in yourself as to what is the right thing, and you pursue that right cause, and right will prevail in the end.
Yes, it certainly will. But I'll make your last point because we have to close.
That's it. Let's work together. Let's help one another. Auckland's is in the clear apparently with the hurricane. But tomorrow, I'll just leave it there. Let's help one another, and let's work with one another
Yeah,
to
we
make
have
things
to.
better.
We have to make things better. This is your host, Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson. Thanks very much for listening to the show. We'll be back here tomorrow, and have a very pleasant afternoon.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests, and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio.